The stage is set. The challengers are ready. And the battle of ideas is about to begin.
How many youth can these people employ?
Get ready for season 2 of the ultimate debate competition, where the sharpest minds, the boldest arguments,
because all we want is eradicating poverty at its grassroots level,
and the brightest young debaters go head to head. Who will rise to the top?
We're going to be having healthy citizens.
Who will claim the title? Tune in to find out in the explosive TV debate competition season 2, presented by iDebate.
Greetings to you all. A warm welcome to the TV Debate Championship Season 2. My name is Shema and I'm going to be your host for the season. Now, for this season, we have a couple of different schools who are debate giants in their own right who will be battling it out on the national stage. Without further ado, I would like to introduce the opponents that we have today. On team proposition, we have Rusumo High School. And on team opposition, we have Kagarama Secondary School. All right. Now, I would like to hand it over to our panel of judges to officially open up the debate flow.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kagarama Shamila, and I'm going to be the head judge for this debate, and I'm with the other two judges. They will be introducing themselves.
Hello, my name is Esther Ineza. I'm excited to hear from you.
Hello, I'm Doris Keza.
So, the two debate teams are going to be debating on the following motion. The motion states that this House believes that African nations should establish a national fund for patient capital investment initiatives to eradicate poverty at the grassroots level. I believe that each speaker is going to be having 5 minutes, 2 minutes to prepare for the replying speech, and 2 minutes to deliver the replying speech. I would like to request the third speaker on the opposition to read out the motion.
Today's motion states that this House believes that African nations should establish a national fund for patient capital investment initiatives to eradicate poverty at the grassroots level.
So, I believe that confirms that we have the same motion. Can we please have the first speaker of the proposition?
Warm greetings to you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the first speaker from Team Affirmative, whereby you have the motion which states that this House believes that African nations should establish national funds for patient capital investment initiatives to eradicate poverty at grassroots level, dear judges. So, I would like to first of all give you the keywords within the motion, whereby the first key term is African nations. African continent countries, and sure, this is mainly used to indicate obligation, duty, or collectiveness established to start or create an organization system that is meant to last for a long time. Patient capital investment initiatives are the strategies, efforts designed to allocate funds within a long-term perspective, priorities, sustainable and impactful outcomes over immediately financial returns, and eradicate, destroy, or completely put to end, and poverty, not having enough money to meet basic needs, or including food, clothes, and shelter, dear judges. Grassroots level, dear judges, this is basically a level ordinary people in social or organization rather than leaders or people who make decisions, dear judges. So I would like to first of all take the right place to say about the task team opposition is to have. First of all, team opposition is tasked to prove to us why national fund should be established, and we team affirmative, we are tasked to prove to you that why we should establish these national funds, not how national funds will be established. We are here to prove that they are going to be in place, dear judges. And dear judges, allow me to continue to what we as a team affirmative make us to say that these national funds should be put in place so that we'll be having potential investment, dear judges. First of all, why national funds in first place? Because we are going to be having sustainability, whereby in many African countries have national funds, but not basically with patient capital, dear judges. This is what we bring in the panel. These African nations which have national funds, they do not basically look at this patient capital, their judges. This makes us, we team affirmative, to say that let's make these national funds to go to this potential capital so that we could be having to the ones who are grassroots, dear judges. Another thing, I would like to give you an example of Nigeria, whereby the Sovereign Investment Authority, which was established to manage the country's sovereign wealth fund delivered to oil revenues, that resulted into good management funds. This really shows that some of the countries have national funds, but not being put in potential capital investment. This is what makes us, with team affirmative, to say that let's move to these national funds to have the potential capital investment, dear judges. Another thing I would like to put on the panel, this source of information is coming from patch.com, dear judges. Another thing we're going to have on the panel, it is that we're going to have effective management and coordinations. When I say this, please understand this. Firstly, we are going to have the private sectors and also national funds. So they are going to be working hand in hand, whereby the private sectors are going to be working hand in hand with national funds, whereby we are going to be solving the problem of corruption and the problem of embarrassment. So we are solving two things which will be like a problem that we are going to be having in the national funds, dear judges. So let's first see that those problems are not going to be coming into place. That means that the grassroots people are going to be tackled on, and thereby we're going to be having the long-term effects, dear judges, not allowed. Another thing is that why patient capital investment in place? I'd like to present you that we're going to be having sustainability, which give effects in long term, so that we're tackling on grassroots people, dear judges. Whereby I'd like to give an example. When we're going to be using these national funds within that, we're going to be having hospitals. The hospitals are going to be hiring people where it's going to become the thing of employment. We're going to be having healthy citizens, and poverty is going to be eradicated totally. So we need to prove you that we should bring these national funds within the place. And why African nations? African nations are firstly facing the problem of poor education and health care. But if we bring these national funds, there's going to be patient capital investment, or those are going to be tackled on, their judges. So I'd like to prove to you that targeted investment establishment, that national fund dedicated patient capital investment can provide a targeted support to grassroots level initiatives, ensuring the source of directors towards projects within potential to create significant local impact and drive the problem of poverty alleviation, dear judges. I would like to prove you that the World Bank, involved in various investment and projects in Africa, can contribute to those that establishment and investment of national funds and development initiatives. So this really proves you that if we are going to be putting in place these national funds, the grassroots people are going to be tackled on, and also are going to have potential investments, which is going to be having like a good thing, dear judges. I would like to go to impacts within the motion, whereby you're going to have question of potential capital investment and quality educations, good health care, development of infrastructures in every sector, and creation of jobs, dear judges. So let's put in place these national funds so that we will be getting something that is really good, whereby the grassroots people are going to be tackled on, dear judges. So I mean that when we create the many percent capital investment, there's going to be having a good and well-organized things. So, dear judges, according to what on the panel, we are proud to propose the motion. I rest my case.
Thank you so much, dear Speaker. Can we please have the Speaker from the opposition?
Thank you, dear judges. I'm Atita Greta. I'm from first speech from the opposition side. First of all, dear judges, where do we want to establish this national funding for patient capital investments? In African countries, dear judges, countries that have countries that are poor, countries that are vulnerable, countries that have high debts. Now, we're proud to oppose today's motion, which said this House believes that African nations should establish a national fund for patient capital investment initiatives to eradicate poverty at the grassroots level. Explaining the keywords: national fund, a government-established pool of resources, typically financial intended to be used for specific initiatives. We also have patient capital investments, long-term investments that provide capital to ventures or projects without expecting immediate returns, allowing time for growth and development. Dear judges, please stay with the patience, which means we're going to get returns in the future. We also have grassroots level. What do we mean eradicating poverty at the grassroots level? It means targeting the most basic level of society, typically involving local communities and individuals who are often overlooked by large-scale economic initiatives. Now, dear judges, what are we trying to address? We're trying to address poverty that is in these African nations. We recognize seeing that we have the problem of poverty in African nations, we need an immediate approach to eradicate poverty. We're not going to choose an approach at the end of the day that is going to take a lot of funds to put in investments, and at the end of the day, it is going to give an impact in the future, in the long run. What will happen to the present, dear judges? Now, first of all, according to IMF, 73% of the poverty is contributed on by African countries, whereby 48% of the people live with a budget less than $1.99, which shows that there is a need for an immediate approach. Now, dear judges, why does the establishment for National Fund for Patient Capital Investment does not work in African nations? We have feasibility and resource allocation. High initial costs establishing such funds requires substantial initial capital, ongoing administrative costs. Many African countries already face a budget constant and maybe a struggle to allocate necessary resources. We also have government challenges, dear judges. We have effective management of the fund requires a robust governance structure, and some countries that do not have. We recognize that some African countries do have corruption and they do have corruption and embezzlement, which means at the end of the day, if we're funding this, if we're establishing national funds, they're not going to be used well properly. We also have the effectiveness in poverty eradication, complexity of poverty. Poverty is a multifaceted issue that can't be solved by only funds. We have other problems like bad leadership that also first needs to be allocated. We have also, now, we as the opposition side, we come to find that the best approach that should be, what do we bring on the table to eradicate poverty immediately? We propose social protection programs that are designed to provide support to vulnerable populations, helping them to meet the basic needs and protect against risks such as illness and economic shocks. And these societies we have in Africa, we do recognize that we have economic shocks, because if someone can live in under $1.99, that means 2,500 Rwandan francs, we realize. Now, our social protection programs are, for example, we have VUP in Rwanda, which has done a lot. We have it is going to immediately reduce poverty, providing for the economic shocks and through employment. As I said, for instance, VUP that does not require skills or for employment or to give employment to people, because they do basic things like constructing houses. At the end of the day, we're tackling two problems at the same time. Now, reminding you that Rwanda is the second fast developing country because it has empowered the vulnerable. Realize that Rwanda has done a lot through empowering these social protection programs, through investing in them more than the patient capital investment, because we do realize that the vulnerable people are the poor people. So if Africa can improve or invest in the social protection programs, that means they're eradicating poverty from the basis of the problem. Thank you, dear judges. I rest my case.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The debate of today is all about seeing whether we should actually establish a national fund or not. So it's not about a mechanism on how it's going to be done. So we are here to prove whether these national funds should be established or not. And ladies and gentlemen, the first speaker from Tima from Negative came here and talked about things like on how this approach is not going to be possible. She brought something of actually these approaches which are in a short time. But ladies and gentlemen, we're not looking at the survival of the citizens. We have a strong issue here, which is eradicating poverty. So we should look in the very big angle, looking at how exactly after the survival of that citizen, then how is she or he going to move out of poverty? So the team from a Negative, in fact, should bring an approach that is going to eradicate poverty, not actually going to look at the survival of these citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, we do recognize that you play a very, very big role. You build small, actually, short-time investments, you play a big role in the survival of the citizens rather than playing a big role in moving their poverty, ladies and gentlemen. So we, Team Affirmative, are putting on the table these patient capital investments and this national fund, ladies and gentlemen, to reduce and eradicate poverty completely, ladies and gentlemen. Now, let's give you on how this success of these national funds, ladies and gentlemen. In Nigeria, we have the Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority. Focus, the NSI invest in infrastructure projects, healthcare, and agriculture with a long-term perspective. It aims to support Nigeria's economic development and diversification through patient capital investments in critical sectors, ladies and gentlemen. A report from the International Monetary Fund in 2023, there has been assistance in the where large amounts of funding, including 5 million USDs in 2020, have been allocated to Africa for various national funds and development initiatives, ladies and gentlemen. To mean Africa is already receiving the funds, and we are not here actually to prove whether these funds should be given and how they should be given. No, the funds are there, the countries are able. So should we now establish or not, ladies and gentlemen? These actually national funds will actually basically go to these patient capital investments because in the first place, what are the problems that are causing Africa to be poor? That's low education, that's actually low healthcare, and that's what patient capital investment is going to do, ladies and gentlemen. Patient capital investments actually tackles these projects that are going to solve the issue in the wrong term, but addressing it completely, ladies and gentlemen. So we're not looking at actually a first and durable maybe approach, but we're looking at an approach that is going to address the problem from those people from the grassroots level, ladies and gentlemen. And who are those people? Those are the people with no education, those are people with no basic needs, ladies and gentlemen. If you provide with a person basic needs today, how about tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen? So you should bring an approach that is going to create dependence of these people depending on themselves instead of actually depending on others. That's the approach of actually ensuring these actually patient capital investments, because they include education, they include healthcare, they include many infrastructures that are going to aid these people, ladies and gentlemen. They bought a case like in Africa, there are no national funds, but we basically see that in Rwanda, we do have the Agricultural Development Fund, which actually being successful. They have said Rwanda is playing a very big role in development of the second country developing well. But we know that, and you know why? It is because Rwanda has managed to create something like RDB and actually Agricultural Development Fund, which are funding the projects and the initiatives of the people who are going to develop. Now imagine Rwanda, if it could actually establish a national fund that is going to tackle the patient capital investments only, ladies and gentlemen. That will be even wild to not think of, ladies and gentlemen. Coming to the problem of corruption and embezzlement, we already said these national funds which are going to be established, they could actually work with private sectors, which is going to reduce the concentration of these leaders who are actually corrupted and embezzled, ladies and gentlemen. Coming to statistics, like ladies and gentlemen, one prominent example of a successful national fund in Africa is Nigeria's Sovereign Wealth Fund, officially known as the Nigerian Sovereign Investment, ladies and gentlemen, which is actually tackling the future generation. We are looking at the solution which is going to be sustainable, as my first speaker said. So we're looking at the sustainability of the approach and even the effectiveness, ladies and gentlemen, which is our national fund. Bringing them on the table like this, social protection programs, which have been tried many years ago, which actually looking on the survival of the citizens instead of looking at them eradicating poverty is not going to reduce these people, ladies and gentlemen. They're saying actually about initial capital which is going to be done, but as I proved to you, we are here to look whether they should be put in place or not looking how they're going to be put in place. Also coming the thing of actually saying national funds have clear governance structures, including independent boards, transparent decision-making processes, and accountability. So mechanisms, ladies and gentlemen, this was written in a book called What Are They and What They Do by Jason Vost. He tried clearly to mean that these national funds have a clear way of governance and they do have a clear management and a coordination which could not allow them to embezzle and corrupt, ladies and gentlemen. And even for the embezzlement and corruption and other stuff, ladies and gentlemen, the governments of Africa are also playing the role because they know they have that. And that's why they established imprisonment. That's why the government actually addressed that. Let's look at Rwanda, ladies and gentlemen, as an example. The corruption has been eradicated for the past years because, do you know what? It is because they have tried to maximize and even try their best in this, ladies and gentlemen. Coming to all that, we African nations should put these national fronts to reduce poverty and even eradicate it. I'll rest my case.
My time starts now. Second speaker from the opposition side opposing the motion that says that this House believes that African nations should establish a national fund for patient capital investments initiatives to eradicate poverty at the grassroots level. First of all, we need to understand something that they have been talking about: who imprisons himself? Because if the government itself takes the corruption, then why do they imprison themselves? First of all, to clarify what I'm going to talk about, understanding that we are going to establish a national fund for patient capital investments initiatives in Africa, we should first understand the condition of Africa. How is Africa right now? Africa is characterized by the following things. First of all, humanitarian crisis. Humanitarian crisis includes epidemics like we have mpox, like monkeypox that is on the verge of destroying people. We have food shortage, for example, in the Sahel region, in Somalia, and also Djibouti. We also have natural disasters. 2, it is characterized by debt burdens. We talk about a statistic that was got from the United Nations that shows almost most of the countries below the Saharan region have a debt burden that is even 100 greater than their GDP, which means they're even way worse. 3, corruption and embezzlement. This is seen also, based on the case study they have tried to prove that of Nigeria. We also bring a case study that also relates to Nigeria's oil study, where it shows that Nigeria lost billions of dollars because of the patient capital investment. Now you understand why. Because we need to understand that patient capital investments are investments that take long to mature and take long to give profits. These are investments that could give profits in 10 years to come. These are investments that could give profits in 20 years to come. Now we need to understand the status of Africa does not wait for these 10 years because we have people that are on the verge of dying because of hunger. They're on the verge of dying because of the epidemics that are coming out. They're on the verge of dying because of the natural disasters that are affecting them. But also are they on the verge of dying because of these debt burdens of the country they have, the poor government of the country themselves. But also, so we find the National Fund for Patient Capital Investments ineligible for this debate. Also, we talk about the economic instability that Africa has itself. Economic stability, this includes unemployment, the poverty at high rate, and also the vulnerable people, dear judges. We have to understand, we have to take ourselves back to the history to understand, will these people wait for the 10 years impact that is going to come after 10 years, or will they have already died because of hunger, because of lack of access to healthcare, because of lack of food, because of lack of lack of basic needs themselves that they want? Now, this debate, the side proposition fails because we do not have the initial cost to put something like this in position. We're not talking about its implementation, but through discussing whether it should be whether this action should be imposed or should not be imposed, we should look at our abilities. We do not have the initial cost to put such a thing into reality. Number 2, most of the governments in Africa have poor management. Corruption, embezzlement at the highest level that is on the ranking. That means we cannot ensure the effectiveness and feasibility of such a plan. Number 3, it has a limited impact. When I talk about limited impact, I look at the long time it has to mature. It takes a long time to mature, yet to have a lot of people who need an immediate solution, yet to have a lot of people who need way more serious help in today. Also, we talk about the urgency. In urgency, we talk about Africa is not a monolith. It's a continent made of 55 countries. That means these countries have different economies, have different perspectives, but also have different states. That means Africa does not have a one-shoe-fits-all size policy. Instead, we should engage in national funds themselves trying to find their own solution. Because what works for Rwanda won't work for Kenya, won't work for Zimbabwe. We should understand that. Now, dear judges, as we come also to our approach, which is social protection programs. These are programs that are able to help eradicate poverty at grassroots levels because they help the vulnerable people. As they define themselves, vulnerable people are these people who are at the grassroots. The grassroots level is that these are the people illiterate. These are people who are illiterate, who are vulnerable, and who are marginalized. Now, how do they do this? Let me first take you to a case study of Rwanda itself. The Vision Umrenje program is one of the social protection programs. Now, what is this? This was a program that was put up by Rwanda itself in 2008 to help these vulnerable populations who cannot go out and express them on the market of the world. Now, how do they do this? It is composed of direct support, public work, and financial service. Now, all of that will show you the effectiveness of the Vision Umrenje program through poverty reduction. According to the National Institute of Statistics of Rwanda, with collaboration with the United Nations, with the UNICEF, it shows that from 2011 to 2014, sectors that where VUP had been engaged we had a poverty reduction rate of 6%, while in non-sectors where VUP was engaged had a reduction rate of 3%. That means with VUP, we can reduce poverty 2 times faster as we can without it. Now, we also understand improvement of food security. Minalok also itself, with the Ministry of Local Government, shows that food insecurity has decreased by 21% in areas where this VUP Umrenje program have been engaged. Number 3, we see increased access to education, which is one of the things we want to tackle. The World Bank in 2015 did a survey and showed that areas where the VUP was imposed, or the sectors where it was imposed, had a support of many students attending. So with all that, we believe we take the debate because we show you our side that wins. I rest my case.
Well, I thought I'd make it clear in the last speech, but it seems like Team Afraba Negative did not understand. What I said about these patient capital investments, what did I mean? I mean they're actually tackling on that kind of a person who doesn't have basic needs. And I read to you well the causes of poverty in Africa and what makes that person first of all, what makes that person have these basic needs? It is because of lack of education, as you said. It is because of illiteracy. And that's what patient capital investments does. That's what these national funds are here to do. Ladies and gentlemen, these national funds are going to invest in these patient capital investments to require or even to put in place this quality education in Africa. One of the best, actually one of the first things that Africa is facing, it is because of no education, no quality education. And that's if Team Affirmative are advocating for this national fund. He said about we can look at even its mechanism when discussing. But ladies and gentlemen, we clearly gave you the World Bank as it offers money to actually be invested in these national funds, ladies and gentlemen, because we are pretty sure the Team Negative would have brought it on the table. But for those countries that are actually able, like Nigeria, as we gave you on the table, ladies and gentlemen, Nigeria has tried it and has really done big because Nigeria so far is not like Burundi, which has not tried anything like that, because Nigeria is actually developing. And we gave you an example of Rwanda. Rwanda is developing not because of those kinds of things which make people survive. He talked about something of VUP, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take an example. The money that they give you in VUP, you use them, yes, but do you use them to eradicate poverty or use them to actually survive? Now, we're looking after the survival of the citizens, what will make them move out of poverty or move out of poverty. So we actually accepted that Team Negative is helping us or is helping the citizens to survive, but they're not helping them to eradicate poverty or to move out of poverty. And that's what we Team Affirmative are advocating for. After all, how is this going to work? What impact is it going to deliver, ladies and gentlemen? This patient capital investment. After now establishing this national influence, what do they actually have to help? We shall have good healthcare, which is going to give employment to people. We shall have good quality education, which is going to employ many people, ladies and gentlemen, which is actually going to even involve the creation of jobs of these people because they have the quality education. As they mentioned, we have illiteracy as a problem which is studying in Africa. And another one also, coming to the problem of corruption and embezzlement. We clearly gave you statistics proving that these national funds are actually going to partner with these private sectors, which these private sectors, remember, they're profit-oriented, which makes these private sectors look in every angle and tackling the problem of investment and corruption, ladies and gentlemen. And one more thing to the second speaker, actually being a leader does not stop you from corrupting or doing any other thing. But what comes after doing that? You get in prison, so you're addressing the issue. Now, coming to the problem of actually saying, why is Africa poor in the first place? As I gave you, it's those problems we are addressing, ladies and gentlemen. And after having these national funds, guess what? People are going to be employed, and it's in the wrong term, ladies and gentlemen, but addressing the issue. So we do not something that is actually coming rushing, but we do need something that is going to solve the issue in the long run. So having this actually national funds be put in place in form of patient capital investments, and these other policies have been tried and put in place. This patient stuff, like he gave an example of actually hazards and other problems Africa has. We don't accept those problems are there, and they're tackled, yes, by you making them survive. Do you know what they do these ones? They come and make you some small shit like you sleep in. They offer you food for lunch. They offer you food for the night, but they're not trying their best for you to move out of poverty. So after you making them survive, we're going to make them eradicate poverty, ladies and gentlemen. Also coming to the thing of actually saying, the condition in Rwanda, the monkeypox, the natural disasters, billions in Nigeria have been corrupted, ladies and gentlemen, but that's actually in place, and we already proved you how these are going to be addressed. Now, they said actually it takes a long time to be mature. We don't accept the fact these things take a long time, but we are looking at the root cause of the problem. Now, what makes these disasters come? What makes these monkeypox come? It is because we do not have these industries that immediately do vaccines. It is because we don't have this education that is going to prevent people from actually going to other crimes and other injustices, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, we do have to make these patient capital investments everywhere to address each and every cause, ladies and gentlemen. Also coming now to the issues of bad leadership and social protection programs, they said in the panel, ladies and gentlemen, Ines and Sharks, ladies and gentlemen, we are pretty sure that these problems are there, but as we gave you, the bad leadership could not be tackled if you don't offer a quality education. So the team actually negative should bring on the table an approach that is also going to address that problem of bad leadership. As we gave you an example, quality education will definitely tackle the issue of that bad governance in the first place, because the people who are taught well with quality education are the ones to address the issues of bad governance and corruption and ladies and gentlemen. It is because the team affirmative now, if they survive, what are you going to do to prevent that kind of corruption in your argument, ladies and gentlemen? Because also those social protection programs can also have corruption and embezzlement, because after all, they do have a governance. Now, as we proved to you that we are actually tackling the issue of corruption and embezzlement, and even to the grassroots level. Now, the grassroots level are the people who have no funds, and these people are the ones who are going to be affected by the quality education, because they do have access to that. After all, you should actually implement these national funds to address poverty.
A Ugandan once said that at the bottom of the wine there always lies poison. We find patient capital investment in a world of assumptions being effective, but then in a world of reality we don't find patient capital investment being effective. On the points of clashes that the status quo of Africa, or the whole, as my second speaker already said, humanitarian crisis we have epidemics like monkeypox, of which you need to address as effective, as fast as possible, because whenever someone faces monkeypox right now, that is the same person who cannot be employed in the patient capital investment they're going for. At the end of the day, they are lacking skilled labor, because people are already unhealthy. To me, at the end of the day, we are not having even the labor enough for patient capital investment to be implemented. There are also natural risks, because according to the United Nations statistics, COP30 proves that the issues, the bad effects of climate change tend to be increasing by 2030, a 70% increase in the effects of climate change. But then, at the end of the day, if this capital investment, maybe they invest in road construction, at the end of the day, they're going to be constructing road, and then at the mid of the road construction, then there is too much rain that's going to be destroying the rain. At the end of the day, that is mismanagement. That is misusing of the resources that you already have. That is misusing of the finance that we already invested. We are failing on the point of investment in something that would be more effective and efficient, because something that is applicable, something that is possible, because these are the same people who are going to be facing natural risks. At the end of the day, they cannot address that. We also have economic instabilities in Africa, because they are talking about a case study of Nigeria. But remember, Nigeria is one of the best 5 countries with good economies. A different case in Burundi, a different case in Rwanda, a different case in some sub-Saharan countries, because this is not something that will be implemented in those countries which have low economy. That being implemented in Nigeria and being effective does not mean that it can be effective in some countries with no enough economies. Does not mean that it can be implemented in Burundi and be effective. And remember, we're talking about all African nations, not specifically the one with the best economics, not specifically Nigeria, not specifically the countries that are bring on the table. At the end of the day, we find this not effective, because it is not an immediate solution, because we already have problems. We already have problems of unhealthy issues, because we already are facing problems of malaria, of the problems of epidemics, of which need an immediate action. We're facing people not having enough money to take their children to the schools and address the question of quality education that they bring on the table, because quality education is itself to be tackled with enough money that is needed to pay for the school fees. But then what do you think if someone does not have enough school fees to pay for that person to go and collect the quality education? We should find a more viable alternative that would be necessary for employing people nowadays, giving people nowadays money, and then the money is going to be effective in the long run. That is only There is only social protection programs. How do the social protection programs work? My second speaker, they give a study of VUP. In VUP, what they do, they employ people, the vulnerable people who do not have enough money, who are the same people who cannot afford the patient capital investment, who are the same people who cannot wait for the long-term impacts. Those people are the same people that we need to tackle, that we need to talk about, that we need to be debating about right now.
Please.
To give them employment, give them the money that they need, give them the insurance that they need through the VUP programs, through the social protection programs, like the giving immediate cash to them. That is something that we should be debating right now. But there's people who are going to be having money, take them, who are going to be having money. There is needed to acquire the credit education that they need, that is needed to be investing in the development stuff. Like, we have a problem for food insecurity, as already my second speaker just said. There is the same thing that we are going to be addressing with the social protection programs, because in social protection programs, we also provide food, but not only that, we also provide money that is needed to go and address the same poverty. We do not find the patient capital investment effective with the vulnerable people who cannot afford funding the patient capital investment. They also gave the social fund as the World Bank and the other international reports. But remember, talking about a national fund, not a World Bank fund, not an international fund, not a UN fund, but we're only talking about a national fund. But remember, dear judges, being effective in sub-Saharan countries, in countries like Rwanda, in countries like Burundi, which are not economically stable. This is something that fails because they cannot afford risking the natural things that are going to be coming in the future. They cannot afford having the capital of all this. They cannot also address the immediate problems that we have in Africa right now, which are health issues, which are food insecurity, which the poverty that lies with having no quality education. Because if you can't give money an immediate money, and you're like in the 30 years to come, someone with 60 years currently, by then will have died, by then will have left his children, but then the children will be having 40 years, not deserving education, not deserving anything to bring in on the table, because at the end of the day, something else effective in the long run, because it's meant for the people in the long run. But then who is going to do it currently? It's going to be done by the people with no quality education. Is it going to be done by the people with no enough skills? Is it going to be done by the people who are unhealthy? Is it going to be done by the people if they cannot tackle the immediate solutions, if they cannot solve the problems we have currently right now, we don't need even to sustain for the future, because how are we going to produce with no enough hospitals? How are we going to produce, how are we going to have the children that we need to address the problems for without enough quality education? We need to address some problems. But we also find team proposition failing on the clashes of failing to show us where the funds would be good. We find the team proposition failing to show us how they would tackle the naturalistics that would come if we also find team proposition failing on the clashes of how they can eradicate poverty from the grassroots level, because we need something that gives money right now so that it can be effective in the future, because we don't need money in the future. Not only that, but also giving money to sustain someone's individual, because we need skills right now, we need health right now, we need everything that we need right now to address the problems in the status quo, not the problems in the future, because that could help also sustain everything for the future. That being said, there is my case.
Thank you so much for a very wonderful debate, both sides. And then now we're going to have 2 minutes to deliver the replying speech, and then 2 minutes to prepare. We'll be starting with the opposition, and then your timer starts now. So time's up. We're going to have the speaker from the opposition deliver the replying speech. You have 2 minutes.
My time starts now. They failed to show us how this plan of theirs can resist natural disasters. That's number one. They failed to show us, and they failed to understand that these patient capital investments requires high investments, of which these grassroots level people cannot manage to afford, but only those who are rich, which affects the scale of those who they are affecting and those who their impact is going to. They fail to acknowledge that there is a need for immediate actions, of which patient capital investments of their national funds does not meet because of the status quo, showing that it takes long to mature. They fail to acknowledge that the patient capital investment is impossible because of the reality of Africa that we are in, where it has humanitarian crisis, it has epidemics, which is unable to fund such a national fund, which causes them to look for funds in the World Bank and whatever, which still beats them because, first of all, it is a national fund, not an external fund. Talk about corruption, where they talk about imprisonment as a way to reduce it, but it is already in place, but has not put anything in effort, because we see still Zimbabwe politicians doing so, we still see South African politicians still doing so. We win the debate because we show you how a national fund how the national fund won't be able to eradicate poverty. Number one, we show you that there is current status quo of Africa that cannot allow it. Number two, the inability in terms of the cost that it takes, the time to mature, but also the scale they affect. Number two, We show you that how this is not addressing poverty because it is it is not possible to put in place. 3, we show you a solution that is able to address poverty because, first of all, it is practical since we gave a case study of Rwanda, but show you that it is, first of all, aiming at survival, but also is able to give education, is able to give health, is able to give food security, is able to give women empowerment, is able to give everything we talk about for anyone to address poverty. So that means we take the debate because we are able to prove as an approach that, first of all, takes the debate in terms of addressing poverty in all the levels, but also that we show you that their action does not address poverty because of the lack of the immediateness on doing so. I rest my case.
Ladies and gentlemen, back to the reply speech, whereby team opposition brought some issues on the panel, whereby they said health issues, pandemic, food shortage, but we asked them, before them, what is the root cause? Whereby the root cause was bad government and healthcare, and these are going to be solved by patient capital investment, dear judges. And we do accept that these conditions are there, but why are those in place? Just because of just because of the problem of poverty. And the debate is not all about the survival, the debate is about how to eradicate poverty, dear judges. So they brought in our approach the problem that we are going to face the problem of corruption and embezzlement, whereby we have proven to them how we are going to make them work in hand with private and national, dear judges, whereby the private is profit-oriented and national is about the people. So these people are going to work in place so that the problem of embezzlement and corruption is not going to be in our case, dear judges. They brought the case of social protection programs, whereby the second speaker asked them the question that this is going to be having corruption and embezzlement, but the third speaker from Team Affirmative failed to answer the question, dear judges. Another thing they brought on the panel, they think of bad leadership, whereby it's going to be addressed by the quality education, which is going to be proven by us, whereby the patient capital investment is going on to educate it because it's a long-term, dear judge. Another thing, they brought the things of money on the panel, whereby the African nations are be able to debate. We are debating about the African nations giving the national funds, not about the national funds will be established. So we are establishing the national funds, but it is still the case they have been insisting us. We gave them the case study of World Bank, whereby it have offered $5 billion to invest in national funds, which means our things is going to be working, dear judges. Another thing, we have proven to them that within no basic needs, we have proven them that within the keywords that there is going to be the problem of basic needs. So people with grassroots, they have a problem of no basic needs and healthcare. So we are going to be putting in place this patient capital investments through the national funds, and these people are going to be having quality education, which is going to be leading to each and everything. So these judges, according to what we put on the panel, we think that the proposition took the debate, at least all our cases, and we are really proud to propose.
So thank you so much to both sides of the House for the wonderful debate. Can you please shake hands? And then we are going to take 2 minutes for the judges to come to the verdict, and then we'll get back to you soon. I'll be handing it over back to the host, Hakidu. Thank you.
All right. With me, I have the votes of the judges that will tell us the verdict of this particular debate. First judge voted for team opposition. The second judge voted for team opposition. And finally, the third judge also voted for team opposition. All right, after now we have had the verdict, I will pass it back to the judges to give the feedback and the reason for their verdict.
We have come to the decision of giving 3 votes to one team. separately, and then after finding out that we all voted for one team, we came back to one feedback, which was this decision was made of whether this patient capital should be an initiative to eradicate poverty in Africa, which we believe that we failed to get the main reason of why it should be an initiative from side proposition, because the opposition continued on showing how this should not be an initiative because Africa first needs to survive. We have a lot of problems that we need to tackle first. So if we're bringing something that is going to be effective in a time of 10 or more years, we believe that by then now people might not even survive to see that future that you are fighting for, which we believe that was the main reason to give the debate to the opposition. But all in all, good job. It was an amazing debate, and we believe that you are going to be the future winners. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, dear judges, for the feedback to the debaters. This was a particularly wonderful debate where we were looking at the motion that says this House believes that African nations should establish a national fund for patient capital investment initiatives to eradicate poverty at the grassroots level. And as the judges gave their verdict, team opposition Kagarama Secondary School took this debate.
Well, thank you. I'm the first speaker from the opposition side that just debated from the quarterfinals. So, about winning, well, winning is always good. It's something that you never get over for. Then the next thing, the most challenging thing about the proposition side, they have really good listening skills. They try to tackle everything that you talked about, but I think the problem is that they fail to highlight the points of clash in the motion or from the opponent side. Thank you.
All right, that is it for today. See you next time.
The stage is set. The challengers are ready. And the battle of ideas is about to begin.
How many youth can these people employ?
Get ready for season 2 of the ultimate debate competition, where the sharpest minds, the boldest arguments,
Because all we want is eradicating poverty at its grassroots level.
and the brightest young debaters go head to head. Who will rise to the top?
Employment, we're going to be having health citizens.
Who will claim the title? Tune in to find out in the explosive TV debate competition season 2, presented by iDebate.